Hey y'all, Pearl here. Just letting you know that due to our crazy work schedule, we did not have time to properly research our new episodes for Thursday and Monday. So instead, we decided that we would pick some episodes we liked that we thought just didn't get enough attention the first go round. So please enjoy them and share with your friends as always. And we will be back with fresh, brand new content on August 7th. We do apologize, but please, please, please continue to listen and follow. We appreciate you all.
Hey y'all, I'm Holly.
And I'm Pearl. And this is Hold My Sweet Tea. Welcome to Hold My Sweet Tea, the podcast where we sip tea and uncover hidden secrets and chilling crimes lurking beneath the surface of Southern hospitality.
Yes, ma'am. Along with spooky tales and haunted history that give the South its eerie charm. Woo! Welcome, everybody, again.
I think we do something silly every time.
Yeah.
Something different.
It just depends on our mood, whether we're doing this like late evening or morning, because there's an energy in the morning and a delusionalness in the evening.
Yeah.
So you just got to decipher which one is which.
It's like awake, Holly and Pearl, or asleep.
Crazy Holly. Well, no. That's kind of all day long.
I was going to say crazy's all day. You know, everybody else. Rosé all day. We're just crazy.
All day. I'm putting it on a t-shirt. That's going to be our first t-shirt available. Crazy all day. It's copyrighted right here.
Right. Don't be stealing our t-shirt idea.
Instead of a glass of wine, it's going to have a glass of tea.
A Long Island.
A Long Island iced tea. That's the jam right there. So, do we have anything to talk about before this episode? Because I think it's going to be a long one.
Yeah, I guess we can just jump right in since it is rather lengthy.
Yeah. Today I'm just going to cover a little dark history of New Orleans in general, but it's more focused on what was called Gallatin Street. So before the legalized area for prostitution, dance halls, and saloon in New Orleans known as Storyville was established, which a lot of people kind of know about Storyville now. It's been more publicized. There's books written on it, articles, lots of things. There was a much darker, sinister area known as Gallatin Street.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. If you walk east on Decatur Street today, you'll find yourself at the French Market. On a busy day in the market, the air is thick with the delicious smell of freshly brewed coffee, beignets, local food vendors. The sounds of jazz music fill the air as people stroll through the market, browsing everything from local crafts to fresh produce. Like, they literally have everything there. Like, you find little trinkets and all kinds of stuff. The market is a melting pot of cultures with vendors and shoppers from all over. Like, it's a whole vibe. Back in the early 19th century, however, this area was known as Gallatin Street and was one of the first vice districts in New Orleans. French Quarter is home to some of the most haunted buildings and some of the most aggressive ghosts in all of New Orleans. Gallatin Street at the time was a scene of decay. It was a damp, grimy place lined with dilapidated row houses made of rotting wood, and were home to some of the city's most ill-reputed characters. I guess that's where they get the House of Ill Repute for when they talk about a brothel or something.
Mm-hmm.
Within the tiny, unlit rooms of the houses on Gallatin Street, New Orleans residents and immigrants huddled together in deplorable conditions with no heat in the winter, and there were many times forced to stay in single rooms with many people during the heat of the summer. And you know how hot it gets here in the summer. It's like horrific. Like you walk outside and you immediately are drenched in sweat. So can you imagine like a bunch of people hanging out in a room trying to sleep in this heat? Like
Look,
Louisiana heat? Mm-mm.
I don't know how these people trying to sit in a room, let alone get
Right.
jiggy with it.
I'd be outside all the time.
I'm like, no, I need some breeze.
Right. And some Febreze.
Probably.
So
On
on top of that, of them all piled in rooms, and a lot of them feared going outside because Gallatin Street was no joke. It was a bad place. Some of the rooms even held pigs, chickens, and rotten produce to feed the animals.
What?
Like, I am sure it was like pungent in there.
It's one thing to have pets inside. It's a whole nother situation when your farm is inside.
Right?
What?
You're in the room next to the 2 pigs and the 4 chickens.
Hungry? Grab an egg.
Grab an egg, but not that one. It's rotten. So, according to a visitor to Gallatin Street in 1873, described the scene to a letter written to the Times-Picayune. And I will reference the Times-Picayune a lot because apparently they were writing articles all the time on this place.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, squalor and misery are sleeping above in chambers so dark and damp as the cold pavestones below. I guess he was there in the winter because it ain't cold.
No.
At all. The understaffed and poorly compensated police force was full of corruption and susceptible to bribes and known to exploit vulnerable women. Has that changed much?
Obviously not.
Well, let's give them benefit of the doubt. So
maybe it happens a little less often.
Less often, less frequent.
But it still happens.
So most of the police, particularly at night, would not even go into this area. With the corrupt officers outnumbering the honest ones, Gallatin Street was ruled by its sex workers, drunks, and criminals, and they reveled in their domination. This was the heart of New Orleans' criminal underworld. Here, dangerous criminals, sex workers, and street gangs mingled, plotted, and carried out their illicit activities. Cheap boarding houses, rowdy dance halls, brothels, and filthy saloons all crammed together lined the street. Gallatin Street was so lawless and dangerous that venturing out at night meant risking one's life. One visitor recalled about Gallatin Street in the Times-Picayune that it was a place where poverty and vice run races with want and passion. That's a little scary.
Yeah, I don't want to be there. I'm glad I was never there.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Right. Prostitution was known as New Orleans' second most profitable industry back in the day. A study done in 1858 on sex workers stated that once women were in the industry, they died within 4 years, and at least 50% of them had a venereal disease. Like, that's
only 50%.
Only 50%. I know. I'm like,
hey, they doing pretty good.
But maybe it's because most of them died within 4 years. So, well. Or they just didn't know and they didn't get treated, or was there even treatment back then?
Was there?
So if they didn't die of the disease themselves, then the violent acts committed against them by drunken patrons, angry bar owners, ended up taking them out. New Orleans newspapers at the time of Gallatin Street's infamy had a consistent stream of published ads promoting potions, elixirs, and cure-alls for sexually transmitted diseases.
Oh, looky there, Mehmed.
Yep. So they were like, "Here, we're going to publish this in the paper. Come get your cream for your burning sensation.
Come get your ice cube."
Yeah, your ice cube. Just put that on there. It'll be fine. Between 1841 and 1860, nearly 500,000 immigrants entered through the port of New Orleans. Most of the prostitutes on Gallatin Street were Irish immigrant women who didn't make it very far from the port. The constant influx of sailors and strangers through the port of New Orleans made Gallatin Street a haven for its notorious residents. Sailors were drawn to its abundant housing, drinking establishments, and entertainment of every kind. This also led to the rapid spread of venereal disease among the sex workers and patrons. With the area being so close to the Mississippi River and the dampness from the mud and rain, it was a thriving neighborhood for mosquitoes, which meant yellow fever ran rampant, and many innocent citizens, immigrants, and others have perished as a result. Some women were victims of violent crimes on Gallatin Street. Others were violent criminals themselves. So now we're going to get into some of the ladies of Gallatin Street. And they were pretty raw.
The frou-frous?
They didn't put up with anything, especially when it came to men. In the days following Mardi Gras in 1859, John Pfeiffer, a newcomer to New Orleans, experienced a less than fortunate encounter. On March 11th, Pfeiffer visited Archie Murphy's dance hall, a place of questionable reputation. While accounts differ on whether he initially declined alcohol, he had socialized with several women that night before going into a private room with Lisa Collins, who had noticed a handkerchief tied around his leg, and it was full of gold.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any place around there that isn't of questionable reputation.
Right.
So
I'm pretty sure that whole area is
yeah, no matter where you go inside, you are in a place of questionable reputation right there.
Exactly.
Very questionable.
So he had such a good time that night, he returned the next day. So he began drinking whiskey, conversing with the madam when the situation deteriorated. According to an article in the Times-Picayune, 4 women approached him, and one of them offered him a drink. As he accepted the drink, the others immediately seized him, forced his mouth open, poured the liquor down his throat. They weren't playing.
What?
They were like, shotgun this whiskey.
Attack!
So Pfeiffer quickly became incapacitated, either drunk, sick, drugged, or both, or all three. He was out of it. He was carried upstairs by the 4 women to quote unquote recover. While they helped him undress, one of them untied the handkerchief and stole the gold out of it from around his leg, which totaled to about $110, which was a lot back then.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot back then. Now we're like, psh.
I'd be like,
That wasn't even worth the trouble.
Right? So although the outcome of the incident remains unclear, Pfeiffer ultimately left Gallatin Street alive. Like, he was a lucky man. He shouldn't have went back at all. Now he's broke and
yeah,
and questionable things happen to him. But that's just an everyday occurrence on Gallatin Street. So it was nothing unusual. Women robbing men and picking their pockets all the time. Now, hold on to your sweet tea, because 2 of the most notorious criminals in Gallatin Street history were Delia Swift, a.k.a. Bridget Fury, and Mary Jane Bricktop Jackson. What kind of names?
Good Lord. Those? They sound like tough girls.
Like Fury and Bricktop.
Yeah.
I would be scared.
You're going to have some trouble right there.
Right.
Their names are trouble.
Are trouble. Bricktop had come to New Orleans with her Irish immigrant parents at a very young age. It's not said what happened to her parents, but she led a very rough life without them. I don't know if they passed from yellow fever or what happened, but she grew up on the streets of New Orleans, and she learned to fight for everything she had.
Sometimes that's just how it is.
Right. Bridget Fury, on the other hand, escaped to New Orleans from a penitentiary in Ohio, where she had been incarcerated for manslaughter for stabbing her husband to death. So keep this in mind while I tell you the next part.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? Both girls with street smarts and fiery red hair and around the age of 13. Yeah, I seen your face just drop. 13.
13?
One of them was married.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was common practice back then.
Yeah.
I'm about to say something really gross, but do you know how many times I've heard and wanted to punch some man in the mouth for saying, if she can bleed, she can breed?
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. So this, like, brings me back to that same feeling of vomit. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That made me sick. Thanks. But, yeah, so they were around the age of 13. They became two of New Orleans' most sinister female serial killers in history.
Holy crap.
Yeah. They would rob, beat, or stab anyone who shamed or did them wrong. Sometimes all of the above. They had no regrets.
Sounds like it. None at all.
At all. They ruled Gallatin Street and had quite the reputation. Like, they were out there like, I'm going to get what I want to get. And anybody that shamed them for doing sex work was especially on their radar. They did not hold back. Fury, Bricktop, and several other rough and tumble prostitutes formed the first ever all-female street gang in New Orleans, as well as in the United States. So they had an all-women street gang. They were like, this is our gang.
Dang.
We're going to get our bag. They were known as the Live Oak Gang, earning their name from the oak clubs that they carried around, as well as their meeting place near the river under the shade of the live oak tree. They were some of the worst criminals in and around Gallatin Street and responsible for most of the violence.
That's crazy.
Right.
A gang of little preteen
girls, yeah.
Girls.
Teen, preteen, yeah.
I mean, they're...
Tweens, there you go.
Something.
Something. No, tweens is before teen, right?
Heck if I know anymore.
When I was 13, I still had Barbie dolls.
Adults. I have pretend adults is what I call mine right now. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I was just like, these little raggedy children
running around. They're like, oh, we're just going to rob and kill you. Bricktop was a gruff and they describe her as a gruff and robust woman, but she's literally 13, 14 years old. I guess.
Is she just considered a woman because she ain't living at home with mama and daddy?
I guess so.
I don't know.
It said that she could beat up any woman or man in a brawl. She murdered 4 that we know of, men, and stabbed and beat many others. One brave man decided that he could call Bricktop a quote-unquote whore and get away with it. The man, said to be 7 feet tall, named Long Charlie.
Oh my God.
Long Charlie, 7 feet tall, was stabbed with Bricktop's weapon of choice, her trusty knife, a heavy 5-inch blade on either side with a center grip made of German silver. This custom knife allowed her to stab and slash in any direction without having to adjust the position of her hand.
You know, I'm going to say that this probably would have been a great one to video because my dang face.
I know. I keep seeing your face going, what?
It is so twisty.
That's why I was like, I was going to do a story on Storyville, and I was like, oh, I found this. I was like, no, I'm going to do this one.
Yeah.
We might do Storyville later on because there is some stuff going on in there, too. After serving jail time for the Long Charlie stabbing, Bricktop joined forces with a man named John Miller, a former boxer and misfit who lost his arm in a fight.
She getting a pimp?
I think she is the pimp.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. She's pretty, rough and tumble, so.
I'm just saying, it's like, what's she involving this dude for?
She fell in love. So she was like, I'm in love with you. Let's get into she joined forces, but she also, was in a relationship.
I see. So. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of getting an artificial arm, John made a spiked ball and chain outfitted for his stump. Can you imagine these two walking, this robust woman and this guy with a ball and chain on his arm walking down the street, turning heads?
Yeah, I'm turning around and running the other direction.
Right? You'd be like, get on the other side of the street. But their affection for each other didn't last long. When in 1861, John Miller tried to crack the whip, an actual cowhide whip, on Bricktop after a domestic dispute. She apparently turned the whip on him, giving him quite the flogging. In defense, John tried to use his ball and chain on Bricktop. Sorry, it's not funny, but it is. She quickly...
When you start, like, seeing this fight inside your head.
I know.
It's, yeah.
It's a little comical, but also scary.
Yeah. This is the most toxic mess
Right.
ever.
So she quickly used his weapon against him, dragging him across the room. Then he tried to stab her. She bit his hand, used the knife to stab him repeatedly until he was dead.
Oh no, not his good hand.
Not his good hand.
That's his mashed potatoes hand.
Oh my God. Let me get right up in there. Oh my God, we're stupid. But we're not. Okay, all the giggles gone. So Bricktop was sent off to prison for the murder of John Miller, and she was never seen or heard from again. Some say she was released after 2 years and left New Orleans for good. But nobody really knows. In 1869, the Louisiana Courier, New Orleans Bee, and Times-Picayune newspapers printed the name Delia Swift, synonymous with robberies, prostitution, and murder. Found guilty of murder without capital punishment, the Louisiana court must have found life on Gallatin Street punishment enough, as Delia Swift was released on bail in 1859 for the murder of a man named Patrick Crowan, who had been walking with a group of friends and made a comment about, quote, women of certain class. Delia, who overheard him while sitting at a coffee stand, jumped up and confronted him. Crowan called her a slut. Sorry for the language. We're trying to keep it clean, but some things just have to come out, you know.
It's okay. I'm already marking this one explicit.
Yeah. Delia then fatally stabbed this man because he was talking some shit about her. Bricktop and Fury. I love that. Bricktop and Fury.
I mean, in another world,
Right.
they sound like new Avengers.
Right. Bricktop and Fury.
Not here.
Not here. They prostituted, they stole from New Orleanians and its visitors in order to survive the harsh environments of Louisiana. These strong women only reacted to the society they found themselves a part of by protecting each other. They wore the marks of a violent, dismal, and heartbreaking past they never wanted. On one hand, they did these bad things, but also they probably didn't know better, and this is how they were raised, to survive and to look out for themselves.
They were obviously destitute.
Yeah.
Situations forever, and they were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids who were never taught to be any different than feral.
Right. They were like out on the street being feral. One of them got married at probably 12.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. But they were badass. By the late 1890s, the Live Oak gang was no longer roaming the streets with their clubs looking for a fight. Most of them were in jail or dead. The police were no longer afraid to patrol Gallatin Street at night. In 1897, the city set boundaries of a new area called Storyville. Any dance houses and brothels found outside of Storyville's limits had to move within them. Gallatin Street quickly became a quiet and eerily haunting place that was once robust with vice and crime.
They trying to clean it up and contain it to a smaller area.
Mm-hmm. So they were like, we're going to move all this over here, and we're going to get away from the riverfront and clean this area up and make it better.
Okay. Okay.
We're going to move you down here, but we want it better. We don't want it as rough and crazy.
So we just put you
here.
in like a neighborhood jail. It's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. Lyle Saxton, journalist for the Times-Picayune, painted a bleak picture of Gallatin Street in 1924. He depicted it as a deserted and forgotten, occupied primarily by warehouses and storage facilities of produce merchants. The air, he wrote, was thick with the stench of the fish market and rotting garbage, while the narrow street itself was strewn with debris. Despite this squalor, Saxton noted the presence of a few old houses with tattered signs advertising rooms for rent.
So Gallatin Street smelled like Bourbon Street.
Pretty much. The stench from Gallatin Street moved over to Bourbon. Yes. Except during Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl when they cleaned it up and sprayed lemon stuff on it to make it smell better.
Yeah, it's so
but
crazy.
It does not smell good.
No. It's yuck.
Yeah. In 1935, Gallatin Street fell prey to a city ordinance which renamed the 2-block stretch French Marketplace. Plans fell in place for the expansion of the French Market as we know it today, and dangerous Gallatin Street was no longer alive with the sounds of brothels and bar rooms. It was now alive with the sounds of fruit wagons and Italian immigrants. In 1926, expansion of the French Market, which involved the demolition of over 40 buildings, effectively erased Gallatin Street in its history.
Wow.
So that was like a pretty harsh place to be in. And imagine being an immigrant coming off of a boat. You had to go up the Mississippi River. You're coming off of a boat. That's the first thing you see.
You already sweat and you already stink.
Yeah. You're stanky, you're sweaty.
You fitting right in.
And then they're like, hey, I can let you make some money. This is how we're going to do it. And they even had these, they had saloons, but they were literally alleyways with like big barrels of cheap liquor that they would put tobacco in there for color to make it look like whiskey. And they would just like add all kinds of stuff in there. It was gross liquor. But for a nickel, you could fill up your pint from one of the barrels and whichever one you want.
Some alley juice.
Alley juice. New Orleans gravy.
That's what I was going to say. So Gallatin Street is like the place where New Orleans gravy originated
right there.
And then
I can only imagine the gravy that was created there.
Yeah, then it just mixed with baby gravy. Worst episode ever.
I'm sorry.
I am green, and it's not envy.
Not envy. I know. I kept watching your face, and you were going, like, making these expressions. I'm like, oh, this is a good one. I like it.
That's why I said this would have been a lovely one to have video of, because I'm sure my face was worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, and then they moved into Storyville after that, and Storyville was a much nicer place. A lot of the women had their own brothels there, so they owned the place. They ran the place, and people from all over would come to the New Orleans brothels. They had what was called a blue book, and it listed everything in there, and you could go from one to the other, whatever you wanted to do, the saloons and all that, but it was a much upper class like area. So it wasn't the dark, seedy Gallatin Street brothels.
So it's like what they do when they moved them. They were like, here's some money. Let's be prettier.
Right.
Get some bathtubs.
Yeah. Let's take regular baths, not, once a year.
I don't understand how we moved out of Gallatin Street and into Storyville, and
Yeah.
suddenly we're high class
Right.
sex workers. Okay.
It just happened. They moved uptown. Like George Jefferson. They moving on up.
Okay.
But my thing is like when you're playing all this in your head, I'm just thinking women had to wear dresses back then. They had these thick petticoats and dresses on.
Oh my gosh, they have
It's
layers.
hot. I know they didn't take baths between Johns.
Yeah.
That
Here we
makes
are.
me ill.
More greenery.
More greenery. Like, can you imagine that? That probably smelled just as bad as the streets.
I'm probably not going to eat lunch today. This is going to be great for my diet.
Right.
Be fasting today.
This is our new diet plan. If you want to, lose some weight, listen to our podcast.
Get grossed out.
That is not medical advice.
No, absolutely not. It's not advice at all.
But
it's satire.
Satire, yes. And if you visit New Orleans and you want to go on any of the ghost tours or anything like that, they have several that will take you down to the French Market where Gallatin Street was, and they do a whole, spiel, and they tell you all about it. So
they're fun.
Yeah, they're really fun. And you can, you're standing in the area where all this happens, so it's like you're there. And then right behind the French Market is the U.S. Mint. So it was from the U.S. Mint all the way, and the French Market is huge. So
yeah,
it was a pretty big area.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the people that had to be forced to live in that area because they didn't have anything. And, room next to pigs and chickens and rotted vegetables.
Room next to it. They're rooming with it. In the same room.
We're going to put you in here with Porky.
Like, you're not allowed inside the sty. However, that back corner over there, all yours. Don't touch my eggs.
Don't touch my eggs.
They're expensive.
I had a thought last night when people were talking about the price of eggs because of this bird flu.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't the price of chicken gone up?
That's a wonderful question.
Ponder that.
Although, I would love to share, since we're making people sick this morning,
right?
Especially myself. My brother has worked in chicken farms before doing chicken houses. And there's literally an illness that a chicken can catch that's like, called, I guess, they refer to it as melting. They literally look like they're melting off their own bones. Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, and they lose all their feathers and stuff. Like, it's gross.
My brother said working in there made him never want to eat chicken ever again.
I bet.
He's like, nah.
Be grossed out too.
It's what you have to consider when you're eating stuff that was once alive.
Right.
We're susceptible to so many things. So are they.
Indeed.
So, yeah. Melting chickens.
Melting chickens.
Juicy.
And brothels.
Juicy melting chickens. Moist melting chickens.
God. The moist word. No. Oh my God. So if we've triggered you enough.
Oh, happy day.
Yeah. And grossed you out enough. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, all the fun. So thank you for joining us on Hold My Sweet Tea. All sources used to create this episode can be found in the show notes. The music for this episode was created by Patty Salzetta. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the interwebs, YouTube. And I'll just start leaving the links for all of that in the show notes, so I don't have to say them every time.
Right.
If you have a case you would like to hear, or even a ghost story or cool piece of Southern folklore, Please email us at steeped@holdmysweettea.com, and steeped is STEEPED.
That's right. So follow us everywhere so you don't miss a single thing. Hold My Sweet Tea is a Drunken Bee production. Y'all remember to stay safe out there, and just because we're dipping doesn't mean y'all can't keep sipping.
Bye.
Bye! And stay out of the brothels.